Hey guys, what's up? We're back with another weekly watch list where we go over what we're looking at for the week on our levels and what potential setups we're going to be looking to take this week and also coming into Monday. So, as usual, let's start with the news. This week, this is going to be earnings week, or sorry, not earnings week, elections week. So, we got a pretty significant news week, if you will, especially going into Tuesday, of course, with that actually being election day. So, coming into Monday here, not an insane amount of significant stuff. 10 a.m. factory orders, some stuff early in the morning. Pretty light day, right? Tuesday is going to be elections day. This is going to be a day to be very careful, be very aware of this, and size accordingly and so on and so forth. Pretty significant news. That's going to be the biggest news, obviously, throughout the whole day. ISM services PMI at 10 a.m. and then at 8:30 we have trade balance as well. Going into Wednesday, we have final services PMI. We have crude oil investors at 10:30. And overall, that's kind of just going to be our news for Wednesday. Pretty light. We do have some decent amount of news here at 8:30 and 10 a.m. As well, and 10:30 a.m. on Thursday. Pretty notable news day as well. And Thursday with unemployment claims coming out, preliminary non-farm productivity, prelim unit labor cost. And then final wholesale inventories, natural gas shortage. So it's going to be a pretty news-filled day Thursday alongside Tuesday. And then Friday is going to be a pretty slow day on the news, nothing too significant. And as always, it's going to be at a time, 10 a.m., where we're already probably going to be walked away. We're always looking to be gone by that time on a given Friday, right? Earnings this week. I'm going to have a couple, nothing too crazy, but stuff to make note of. Super micros. This is going to be interesting. We're either going to massive sell-off and it's going to be delisted, or we're going to get a little pump and a little pop and see how it goes. It's going to be interesting. I'm just kind of excited to see that. I'm probably not going to touch it at all this week entirely. No setups, but I'm excited to see what it does. ARM as well. Nothing we really touch too much. I personally don't trade this. It's a pretty crappy stock. Shit stock, I like to refer to them as, where it just doesn't give great moves, continuation, and so on and so forth. Next one's going to be Affirm is going to be the next stock as well. Another one similar to ARM where, we're not really looking at anything too significant on that, or going to be, I'm personally not going to probably look to take anything on that. So this week earnings, nothing really significant. This should be a good week for our overall core stocks, our main tech stocks, right? So ES and Q, what we're going to be looking at here on this is going to be looking to go into lows. We really kind of have a potential, we don't really have a sentiment here. We do obviously have a downtrend, but this could be a pretty decent bear flag development here on ES. We're going to be looking to see 57.31 the low here break, crack below down to 57.20, past 57.25, and then we have some pivot point rejections here at 5,800 basically. I'm going to look to see if we can break those as well. I think that personally, if we are able to crack these lows, we're going to be looking to fill the quarterly gap here as we have this quarterly gap here development off ES from the last quarter shift. As long as we can kind of maintain that continual downtrend move we've gotten here, we may just have a pop and definitely see some downside sentiment here this week, right? Going into this week on NQ, we're going to be looking at 20,288 as the next level of resistance, 20,300 is the next psychological level to break through and crack above. That's upside. Downside is looking pretty prominent here. It's got the most potentiality, I think, for what we're going to get. I think it's got the highest probability potentiality. So 20,000 is going to be pretty big, significant level to break, though, on NASDAQ. Pretty significant. I mean, it's a pretty hefty level psychology-wise. It's also one of the densest, if not it is actually the densest price density ranges here, meaning it's got the most amount of rejections and chop that there are in the entirety of the history of the NASDAQ. So it's going to be an interesting week for sure, to say the least, on the markets. If you guys are looking at QQQ intraday traders, if you're looking to trade at QQQ, it's going to be an interesting week. I think you're going to be able to catch some pretty big moves if you're able to read it correctly and properly manage your FEGs and IFEGs. Going into Apple is going to be my main one of my mains here. My first main, 220 downside is what I'm looking at. We have a current uptrend development here to the upside. I'm going to be looking at these local lows, these local areas of basically support we've been showcasing here. It's going to be around 220.39 cents. We have the low of 220.28 cents. I'm probably going to be looking to take this at this low, at Friday's low here at 220.25 cents. If we can have a break below and then close on the candle, that would be my perfect ideal entry setup, but we don't always get that. Targets on this is probably going to be pretty short. My next level of support is going to be 218.93, so I'll probably just be looking for about $1 on this, which with Apple would pay even on a Monday very significant. Probably close to 30%, if not more. So this is going to be my desired approach and what I'm looking for out of Apple here. Okay. Second watch list on the main watch list here for this week is going to be AMD. Actually, we have a descending wedge, descending pennant, if you want to call it that. Consolidation, borderline, baseline is what it is. Looking at the 141 area is my as my level to take. If you look at this on the 4 hours, is a pretty well. We've had some good breathing room on this, and we haven't tested it in quite some time. So I'm going to be looking at this. My areas of support are going to be 141.32, 141.87, 141. I don't really have too much resistance all the way to 140. So realistically speaking, I'm probably going to hold past 140. I'll probably be out about half my position at about 140, and then I'll be holding just a few runners. If anything, I'll be at a 3/4 and keep the last quarter just to run it all the way to see what room we can get, maybe 139, 138 even, right? Catch an insane percent on that. So I don't have a whole lot of support here after 140. As you can see, there really just isn't a lot. Maybe 138.71 here would be one area. You can see some levels of support here kind of developing, some rejection pivots. But, I mean, that would be it, really, right there. So, you could say 139 would be a pretty good target, realistically speaking, as a runner, though, only because I think after a 141 entry, a 140 would be a great target. You're going to catch a solid percent. It's a great setup at that point. Then, by the time we've reached past 140, it's going into overextension. The way you need to catch this has to be with pretty direct, strict, clear divergence, right, from the markets. So, going into the next setup, Meta's going to be 560. I'm going to be looking to take this at probably 562.50, maybe a little bit larger on the room, probably looking at 561.49. Now, Meta loves to have those big moves, right? So we can see $2 to $3 moves very easily out of Meta these days, especially, those dollar moves can be wild. You can get $2 candles, full candle closes. So I'm probably going to be looking to take this at the recent low. And if I do have an earlier entry, the only one I would look at would be 562.56, and that's really early, and it would have to be with like extreme weakness coming into tomorrow morning, which by that time it'll probably have already broken with the kind of weakness I need to see, and we're probably going to be closer to 560, and my entry is likely going to be below 561 at that point, right? So these are just all kind of things to be aware of, and you just know this as a trader once you've got enough screen time and you've been on the market long enough like I have. You understand that that's just kind of how things go, right? So we're either going to get that or we're going to get just another rejection in this freaking crap chop range we've had for some time. You can see we just kind of bounce up and down, so it's kind of shit. So we just need to see this kind of have some continuation eventually, or at this point, and see that move happen, right? And the way the markets are setting up, like we talked about, this looks like a very good potential probable move to occur, right? So our next setup is going to be Microsoft, actually. Looking at this in the main as a 406 as my main actual level. Target is going to be the psychological 405 level. It's not an actual, it is a level, but it's nothing crazy. It's just going to be based off psychology, mainly the mass psychology aspect. So my primary entry is likely going to be these lows break at 406.30. Again, similar to what I was talking about on AMD, I want to see it close out below that low area to see confirmation that this is going to occur and not another wicked rejection as we've seen here. We can't seem to close below that area. That's the 30-cent mark. So if we can see that, that would be my LD entry. Now, if we have enough weakness here, right off open, which is looking like how it's structured, just kind of like Meta, then I would be willing to take this before that happens, right? And see that, to take that as a safer entry, so to speak, in that sense. So 406 is going to be kind of the level, is really the level. 405 is target on this to have a balanced risk to reward on this. A nice solid 2 to 1, 3 to 1 risk. And then that's going to be it for Microsoft. So NVIDIA, looking at this, looks really strong. One of my favorites, if anything, my top pick on the list this week. Really, really strong against everything else. Probably the strongest in the entire watch list right now. I'm looking at, personally, 141, but I may change that to 140. It just kind of depends on how we get there coming off open tomorrow. And the issue is that this is likely going to probably break 140 pre-market here right before open. This might just chop around tonight. We'll come off open. I know how this thing does it. I know how companies love to do this. We'll crack right above it and break our setup on 140. So I'm going to have 141 as my main watch level. We might even break above it with the amount of strength we've had out on this. Probably some news-related strength. I'm sure you can find it right off the first Google search. But this is going to be an interesting one, definitely to say for sure. 141 is going to be my main watch. I'm not sure why I don't have the level there. I swear I charted it. Where I'm going to be looking to take this, I have the actual support resistance levels already made, my key levels. So 140, 39 is a little far, but I would want to see it close above that. And then past 140, 54, right? This is going to be pretty notable. You can just see it straight off this recent history here, price action. That's a notable level, right? So that's going to probably be looking to be my entry there, especially coming off open with the right strength. This is going to be a very, very clean, smooth banger for sure if it sets up correctly, right? Like we always talk about. Tesla is going to be my last and final watch for the week. Not the highest quality, if anything, it's almost even maybe a side. But we've had some notable weakness on this in the last week after that massive earnings pump. Obviously, as we see here with Optimus and the taxis and all that stuff. Kudos to anybody that caught that and liquidated shares or has some long holds on options. Pretty dope. You would have caught a major percent on that. But Tesla downside, looking at 245 here. Pretty notable rejection here. This is not a misprint. You can look at the volume and see that was actually real volume. Pretty notable rejection off that wick there. So this is going to be an interesting watch to see for sure. We obviously have the recent low there at above 246. This is going to be 246.63. My entry is going to be definitely closer to 245. I really just kind of depends on how we approach. I might look to take this at the low here. It just kind of depends on, like I say, how it approaches. I have the two ways of approaching it. I've taken it here at the low, or also my other one's going to be below 246 with the correct weakness and not being overextended. It's got to be set up correctly. If we get them down there in a big drop, I'm going to have to see a H pattern, something, consolidation, what have you. I have to see some selling step in to see those orders filled, that intraday gap, so to speak, fair value gap, if you will, filled and completely set aside so that we can see where those buyers, when those sellers do step in against the buyers, that the sellers are really strong against them, and we can see some clear price action to have a clean trade on that. So that's going to be the whole watch list this week. A lot of watches this week, not going to lie. And some of which will probably not come until later in the week. So this is a real great weekly watch list this week. I know it's probably a longer one, but I wanted to give you guys the best stuff I can give you, Going into this week, be smart. Anybody that touches SMCI, be aware, that this is going to be a wild week, and just be smart with it, your sizing. The volatility is there, just like it was when I was at 1,200. It's just as high now as it was, if not higher. It is definitely higher at its current point now that it's approaching delisting on the market. So be careful with that. And anybody on the market doing intraday QQQ SPY stuff, you're going to have an interesting week. So just be smart. It's going to be an interesting week on the market trading side. Everything with what we do and talk about on the scalping, morning breakout trading style. Just do what you guys need to do anyways, and just trade this correctly and be smart with your trades, size correctly, risk management, so on and so forth. If you have any questions, I'm always open to my DMs on Instagram, on Discord as well if you're in stock hours. And yeah, that's going to be this week's weekly watch list, and I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next week. Peace.